Welcome back. You're watching NewsX. I'm Uday Pratap Singh. Bangladesh Nationalist Party leader Feroz Khan has been expelled for filing a sedition case against 19 people, including Chinmoy Krishnadas Brahmachari, organizing secretary of Chittagong division of ISKCON Bangladesh, without informing the organization. On the other hand, the general secretary of the organization, Charu Chandra Das, has asked the editor of Amar Desh Patrika, Mahmudur Rehman, to apologize to the nation within 7 days for banning the Bangladesh-based International Krishna Bhavnamrit Sangh as an agent of the Indian intelligence agency. The sedition case has been filed from the 25th of October, when Hindu organizations held a massive rally in Chittagong to press for their 8-point demand. Meanwhile, the question that arises is, who will save Hindus in Bangladesh? Joining us at this point, Veena Sikri, former Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh, joins us live. We also have Major General G.T. Dwivedi, defense expert, live with us. Gautam Mukherjee, senior journalist, is joining us live. Adit Kothari, founder, Indic Society, is also with us live. Ambassador Sikri, let me begin with you first. What do you make of this action taken a bit belatedly, but finally in Bangladesh?
I think this shows quite a lack of concern by the interim government and the Council of Advisors on the repeated pleas being made by the Hindu minorities and the Buddhist and the Christian minorities on the difficulties they are facing, the atrocities they are facing ever since the change of government, the regime change, when former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina left on 5th of August this year. At first, there were the violent attacks, the rape, the killings, the abductions. And at that time, of course, our Prime Minister Modi, had taken it up at all levels. He had sent a message to Chief Advisor Mohammed Yunus. Professor Mohammed Yunus had called him. He had also discussed this, Prime Minister Modi had discussed it with President Biden as well. But after these direct physical attacks stopped, the economic attacks have continued, including physical attacks also, where Hindu teachers have been forced to resign just by sheer force. They're surrounded and asked to resign. Teachers in universities, professors have been asked to resign. Businesses are being taken over. Shops are being destroyed. So it's a great problem for the minority communities. And we've seen in recent days really an international concern being expressed about the situation of minorities in Bangladesh. We've seen, for example, President Trump, who's made a very strong statement on the barbaric attacks that he's described it as on the Hindus in Bangladesh. And he's talked about the chaotic situation in Bangladesh. And we've seen also that ISKCON, as a global community of ISKCON, has a very good standing all over the world, in many countries of the world. And it is their leaders in Bangladesh who are leading this movement and asking for, they've made a charter of 8 demands. They've written a letter with these 8 demands to the chief advisor and to the Council of Advisors. But despite all this, sedition charges have now been filed against those who demonstrated, as we said, yesterday in Chattogram and yesterday in Dhaka. So this is very concerning, because it really is destroying the livelihood and peace of mind and livability for the minority communities in Bangladesh.
Absolutely. Let me in fact quickly take that across to Major General Dwivedi as well. Major General Dwivedi, this is, of course, this entire pattern of events has been extremely concerning since, of course, this transition took place in Bangladesh. But now, how do you react to these fresh developments taking place? Also now this action, do you believe it is welcome, or is it an eyewash?
Well, Uday, I think we need to take a bifocal view as to what exactly is happening in Bangladesh, and especially after August 5. You see, internally, if you look at it, there is a game plan, and this is being orchestrated by no less than the army chief, Waqar Zaman, who is actually calling the shots. Now, what is the game plan? First and foremost, the chessboard is being set for a new political dispensation, and that is the Bangladesh National Party and its allies, to take over power whenever the elections are held, which is not going to be anytime soon. At the same time, most of the institutions have been overhauled, be it judiciary, be it the internal security, be it the education and the like. Means the complete overhaul has taken place. Simultaneously, a very distinct, strong message to the minorities that either you adopt Islam, you change your religion, or you leave. Now that is the way this is being put forward. And as Ambassador had just few minutes back, that initially it was a physical coercion, it was a violence, and now they are being cornered through the other means, and that is the internal dynamics. How about the external dynamics? You see, Bangladesh, the way the things are being orchestrated by the new dispensation, first and foremost, the proximity of Bangladesh with Pakistan, with China, and that is one cause of serious concern. Secondly, the support that is coming from America, because after all, Muhammad Yunus is basically has the backing and blessings of America. Now, how Bangladesh is also bypassing India in trade. The textiles are now moving along different supply chains, bypassing India and going through Maldives and beyond. Now, the point is that we need to take a very concrete action because this is not acceptable. After all, the Hindus in Bangladesh today have no choice. They are being cornered, they are being pushed back, and they are fighting back with very, very genuine, legitimate demands, which ironically, I would say ironically, Muhammad Yunus is terming it as political. No, sir. It is all basically religion biased, and it is basically only points to one thing, that the minorities must be exterminated. It is a kind of a very soft, I would say, genocide that is going on. So what should India do? I think India has no option but to talk tough to Bangladesh dispensation that this will not go on, and they need to actually step back. Secondly, we need to give full support to the Bangladesh Hindus. After all, they have no place to go. If we open like in under CA, if we open the gates, there will be mass exodus into India, something like situation of 1971. And I fought that 1971 war, and I know what exactly has happened. And thirdly, I think the international community must be sensitized. All the Western people, they have double standard about human rights, and now it is the time to actually sensitize them that this is here, what is going on. And President Trump has, I think, flagged the issue in no uncertain terms. So all I can say is the situation is very, very concerning as far as the Hindus are concerned in Bangladesh. Secondly, the Bangladesh overall policies and dynamics are of serious concern to India. I think we need to address the issue with one very clear policy, because right now we don't have a policy. In fact, we don't have a policy against most of our neighbors. You see what is going on in Nepal. The KP Sharma Oli is now trying to print new notes with Kalapani, Lipu Lake as part of our territory. I think the neighbors are emboldened, and we need to put a check to that, and with a overall policy toward neighborhood, especially to Bangladesh. Uday.
Okay, let me take that across to Gautam Mukherjee as well. Gautam Mukherjee, now this of course, these developments of course have shocked many. There's a pattern to it that many have picked up as to what has been happening in Bangladesh. But now this action taken, how do you view it? What is your interpretation of it?
Well, I think it is a constant series of provocations to India. The idea being that India should react in a forceful manner, which then the West, particularly America, can condemn. We are not going to. We are going to ride this out. In the meantime, the Bangladesh economy is in trouble. Their textiles, which is a mainstay of their exports, have been falling. Exports have been falling. They may send them via Maldives, but they've dropped some 20%. And that 20% of the textiles are now being farmed out to India. India's textile exports to the United States and other places has gone up. Electricity will soon be cut off by the Adani, powerhouse in India, even though it's a dedicated powerhouse that only supplies to Bangladesh, but they owe us over $800 million, and they haven't paid more than, I think, a tenth of it. And as a consequence, they've been given a week, that'll be cut off. They are going through huge power cuts. These protests on the road are part and parcel of, I would imagine, a uh, opposition revival, i.e., an Awami League revival. It is not going to be easy for BNP and the Islamists to, consolidate their hold. The army is actually not interfering with this chaos, which is, because they actually were on the side of the revolution. But will they be able to contain it? How will they finance themselves going forward? Is China and America and Pakistan going to sustain their day-to-day? It seems highly unlikely. Is the IMF going to do it? They're already having trouble doing it in Pakistan. Can they continue and take on yet another bankrupt client? In addition, of course, to Sri Lanka, Nepal is also practically bankrupt. Myanmar is a thorn in the side, not only of India, but of Bangladesh as well, with their Rohingyas. This is a little bit strange. They are ignoring a lot of the negatives that are going against them. And if the elections throw up Trump, then a lot of what is going on in terms of deep state support for Bangladesh may well dry up. And that is imminent around the corner. If, however, Harris wins, I don't know if Harris is wanting this to go on either. But if we assume that she carries on with the Biden policies, I suppose a support of sorts to Bangladesh will continue. But they are, verging on anarchy, and it's not getting any better. It's been a while since Hasina left. Uday.
Yes, Adit Kothari, quickly come in here on, of course, this pattern that's emerged from Bangladesh. What really explains their silence, their inaction over what has taken place, what this fresh provocation and, incident means for you?
So, Uday, thanks for having me firstly. And, I think it's quite ironical that the power in Bangladesh was seized from the Awami League to establish democracy. And the irony is that they've established anything but democracy. They've pandered to mobocracy and Islamic mobocracy, if one seems to say. General Dwivedi basically pointed out the 1971 war. The 1971 war was basically fought against a sort of a hegemony, and it was fought for Bengali cultural nationalism. But that all sort of dwindled away in the 1980s when, number of amendments were made in the Bangladeshi constitution. They removed secularism, they removed Bengali nationalism, and as a consequence, leaders like Zia Rahman basically institutionalized political Islam. And whatever we saw in Pakistan prior to post 1947 in terms of the Islamic othering, continued back in Bangladesh through different sort of governmental policies and governmental schemes. As a consequence, the minorities of Bangladesh were basically, left to lurk in complete darkness. Politics has been used, political Islam has been used as a weapon. And it's and as a very dangerous weapon against the sort of minorities of Bangladesh. Their lands have been seized. They have been hurt in a number of other ways in terms of their religious gatherings, their Durga Pujo, etc. And at the end of the day, if a Muhammad Yunus who's being patronized as this moderate figure of Islam, if they say things like, there is nothing happening, that they're actually providing intellectual cover fire to the worst of the Islamists in Bangladesh. So as long as this continues, I don't see a ray of hope. World leaders need to step up. so far there's only the Tulsi Gabbards and the Geet Wilders and the Donald Trumps who've come forward and have kicked that political correctness into the dustbin. But other than that, even the Indian government at large has kept quite a bit of a blind spot when it comes to the plight of the Bangladeshi Hindus. I think time has come that we need to talk more overtly about this situation in Bangladesh, because we are, I come from Bengal and we are one of the first casualties as a consequence of what happens in Bangladesh. The 1971 was where Assam and West Bengal were one of the first casualties as a consequence of what happened in Bangladesh and East Pakistan prior to 1971. Uday.
All right. In fact, quickly going back across to Ambassador Sikri now. Ambassador Sikri, the big question, of course, is who will save Bangladeshi Hindus? Finally, you have, of course, a big world leader, former US President Donald Trump, speaking for them. Now, of course, whether he's done it for the election or not, at least he's had the courage to speak out and speak for their cause. But, what explains the other silence on the issue?
Well, I think that, it's been known, or it's been talked about so widely, that it is the Western-supported regime change operation in Bangladesh, and that's why the other members, all the other members, are keeping quiet. But neither have they gone forward to give any help to Bangladesh. In America, of course, the deep state had been fully involved, but President Trump has willingly indicated that he will take a different position should he be elected president. But I think right now we have to focus on bringing justice to the Hindu community. I think the government of India has taken strong steps. In fact, it's perhaps the first time ever that the government of India has spoken up in writing publicly in favor of the Hindus and other minorities, the Christians and the Buddhists and the others. Even from the ramparts of Red Fort, Prime Minister Modi spoke about it, and certainly the discussions about this with other governments is continuing. Now let's see what the demands are. The Hindu community, they have put forward a series of 8 demands. First of all, they demand recognition of the atrocities they are suffering, and it is very unfortunate that while the very well respected Council of Unity of the Hindus, Buddhists and Christians in Bangladesh has given a report saying there are about more than 2,000 attacks on the minorities, but the chief advisor, President Mohammed Yunus, keeps dismissing it as only a few politically motivated. He's not even willing to recognize that these are communally incited incidents being led by the Jamaat-e-Islami, which is calling all the shots in the present interim government, and they are inciting their members, their cadre, to conduct these atrocities. So I think this is the first thing, to recognize the extent of the atrocities, and I'm very glad that the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, who was in Bangladesh the last 2 days, he himself has said that there should be a complete investigation. He was called just to look at what happened between 15 July and 5th August, but now he's called for inclusive justice. So our first thing is that there should be, and we should support this, for the UN, HCR and others to take cognizance and accept and recognize what has happened. That's the first thing. Secondly, the charges of sedition should be dropped, because this is completely uncalled for. It has just been done because they were having a demonstration in their support. Then they have made a list of 8 demands. These should be supported. The 8 demands include a law to protect minorities. This is very important, that there should be a law to protect minorities. There should be a ministry of the minorities to make sure that their laws are being protected. And there should be a tribunal to prosecute the people who have committed these atrocities against the minority communities, primarily the Hindus, but also in large numbers the Hindus, the Buddhists and the Christians. The Buddhists, for example, could not even celebrate their important festival which takes place in late October and November, and they said we will not celebrate because there have been attacks on us, our businesses are being destroyed, our homes are being destroyed, and they are accusing the Bangladesh army of being hand in glove in these attacks. And the Bishop of Dhaka has also made statements about the attacks on the Christian minorities. President Trump himself referred to the attacks on the Christian minorities. So I think this work that we have to do to get the recognition and to get specific action in keeping with the demands which have been made by the minority communities, by the Hindu communities day before in Chittagong and yesterday in Dhaka. So if we work on this strongly and get international support for this, especially the UN Commissioner for Human Rights, I'm sure there will be good progress.
What is the way forward, Major General Dwivedi, according to you, to get justice for those who have, of course, been having to face this plight? Major General Dwivedi, are you there with us?
Can you hear me?
Okay, yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, Uday, what I was saying is to get justice is very wishful through the organization, world bodies, because they are more rhetorics than actually deliver on the ground. But let's see what are the couple of forces that are working in Bangladesh. First and foremost, army is actually in the saddle, and army is calling the shot, and army chief is the person who is actually running Bangladesh, and it is providing collusive support, in fact open support, to all these elements like Jamaitis to go ahead. So therefore they are emboldened and they are doing what they are doing. Secondly, in China, I follow China very closely, was the defense attaché there. The point is Chinese are waiting for this opportunity because their whole policy is of debt trap, and they'll be too happy to loosen the purse to ensure that Bangladesh is back into the dragnet, and that will be they are looking for. The third point is that constant effort by Muhammad Yunus by trying to paint it as a political, development, and of course, therefore providing legitimacy to what is going on. And the way things are, Bangladesh is going to sink deeper into the quagmire, and the complexion that this nation is going to actually evolve is a combination of Pakistan and Afghanistan, because that is the kind of complexion that will emerge. Now, it's the time to talk tough, because until we bring pressure on Bangladesh, and we have enough tools to bring pressure economically, politically, and more than that also, you can post yourself, certain amount of hard power signals can be sent, because this soft talk is not going to take us anywhere, and we know how important these global bodies are. And I think at the end of the day, India has to do heavy lifting. No one else is going to come. People will pay lip service, but we are the people, we are our country, our citizens are most impacted, because we saw that once there is a turbulence in Bangladesh, we feel the tremors inside. The cascading effect is phenomenal. It destabilizes our country, and especially the northeast and the neighborhood. So all I can say is that it's time to talk tough. Diplomacy has a means of talking tough. We should not expect much from the global bodies and be very wishful, because at the end of the day, we are taking the flag and we have to set the house in order. Uday.
All right, your closing comment, Gautam Mukherjee.
Well, one of the thoughts that I have is if this anarchy continues, there is some possibility that Bangladesh, like Pakistan, may not survive as a unit. And it may, the interested parties around it, including China, to some extent India, Pakistan, but it's sort of geographically separated, may take chunks of it into their sphere of influence. Myanmar doesn't have the military muscle, perhaps, but again, there is no reason why it won't push in to some parts of Bangladesh. So you've got a situation in which a lot of people could exploit the geographical mass of Bangladesh for their own benefit. And if this continues, this could happen in 2025. Uday.
All right, my thanks to all of our guests for joining us on this discussion. It's time for a very short break.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.